How do you say Kala Vanakkam? So nice. We've started the day with some yogic postures. Everything helps in alertness in the morning time. Today we'll be starting with the processes for implementing the health in the body. So, out of the three things that we talked about, health of the self, health of the body, and health of the environment. So we talked about the health of the self to begin with as first priority. Now we are doing the health of the body. Why is everybody gone so far back? Okay. So today we'll be talking largely about intake. So for keeping the body healthy, we said that the self has to take charge. With the feeling of self-regulation, it can take charge of nurturing the body, protecting the body, and rightly utilizing the body. The nurturing part, that is taken care of by the intake. If we know that something nurtures the body, then we can take that into the body. If we are aware that something is not nurturing for the body, then we have the choice not to take it into the body. So, if the slides are there, then you'll be able to relate to it better. This is session 4, is it? We need session 7. So we talked about the universal health principles and the recommendations, and then we said we will further talk about the implementation. Principles tell us why to do something. Recommendations give us an idea of what to do. And then the implementation part, we'll talk about all the practices. So, principles are the same for all, it is universal. There are some recommendations which are same for all, and some dependent on the person, meaning the constitution, may be related to the time, to the place, the region, and so on. So everybody was able to figure out their constitution, and you were also able to see, I think the slides were shared with you. So you are aware that some things help you balance the attributes in your constitution, and some things can create an imbalance. So then you can have an idea of what suits your body or your constitution and what does not suit. And if you keep that somewhere in front of you, somewhere that you can be reminded, say on the fridge or somewhere, then you will have a better idea of what things you are taking in. You will have awareness of what you are eating and whether it is suiting your constitution or not. So now let's go to implementation. Where does this say? So practical implementation of the health recommendations, the role of various practices that can form a part of our program for health, and the intake of food and its role in keeping the body healthy. So what constitutes a balanced diet, and how to determine the quality of the food you eat. This is all what we'll be covering. So if we want to practically implement health in the body, it requires an understanding of the universal health principles, which we talked about yesterday, those related to the body and those related to the self. We also need to follow the recommendations based on these principles. For following the recommendations is what we are going to do, these practices and processes. So we are going to give an example of one such program. You can make your own program, but this is one example. There can be many practices, but we have put together one such set of practices. So for staying healthy, if we know what to take in, what our intake should be, we will be able to make choices for that. How our routine or lifestyle should be. Today one major issue is so many lifestyle problems because we don't know what lifestyle we should have. So what is our daily routine? Labor and exercise, postures, some postures you did this morning also, that can regulate the internal and external parts of the body, and regulated breathing. This much we can do for staying healthy as a program of health. Sometimes if the body goes into disharmony, then we can also take medication. But even if we take medication, this part for staying healthy should continue, because it will help us to come back into harmony faster. And of course, if the body disharmony has gone so far that it cannot be reversed, then it's mentioned as treatment. You can call it whatever you like, but basically some body part is not functioning and cannot be made to function, and now is totally dependent on some outside source for running that function. So we would rather not discuss that when we are talking about health. Basically our main emphasis is going to be on how to stay healthy. So this will be a priority. For staying healthy, intake, routine, labor. Labor means working with nature. Like when you're growing plants, say if you have some area where you stay, you might be growing some herbs. Does anybody grow anything near their house? Nice, very nice. So that, along with exercise and the postures and regulated breathing, this much if we can do, that might be sufficient to keep us healthy. But as and when we are not able to do, we can also take some medicine. But the priority should be very clear. First priority would be to stay healthy. Then if it is not working, or for some reason, like when we travel or some other events, something like that, when we are not able to maintain this and the body goes into disharmony, then we might take medicine for some time. But this should never be out of sight, the first priority for staying healthy. So intake is what? Intake is everything that you take into the body. It includes food, it includes water, it includes sunlight, it includes air, all the intake through the 5 sense organs. So here in this session, we will talk largely about the intake of food. How well do we know our food? To lose weight, all carbs should be avoided. Maybe we can get together in our groups. Can we do that? Gather in your groups, please. We have some 5 things listed here, 5 points listed. So all the groups, you can sit down and see out of these 5 points which are true and which are false. And then we'll discuss that.
Point, like to lose weight, all carbs should be avoided. So according to me, like I think carbs is a source of energy. So instead of avoiding entirely the carb, like some amount considerably, for example, the refined carbs, like the processed carbs has to be avoided.
Can we go to another group? Let's take point 2.
Point 2.
Okay, you can do point 1 and 2.
I just want to add on to whatever ma'am said. I think we can't totally avoid carbs. Carbs is in everything. Even in fruits and vegetables has a little amount of carbs. So it can't be avoided. And for the second point, fruits doesn't cause diabetes. Maybe the person who's already been diagnosed with diabetes can avoid certain foods at certain quantity. I don't think it directly has an effect on diabetes. Causes diabetes.
Okay. Can we have another group? Talk about the first 3 points.
First 3 points means all 3 are not true. Why? Because to lose weight, all carbs should be avoided. Means in our body we need some carbohydrates. We couldn't avoid completely. Second point, we should avoid eating sweet fruits as they cause diabetes. That's also not correct. Why? Because if we eat what it is, guava, like that, jackfruit, something we should eat. Animal protein being a complete protein, we can't say like that. Why? Because the vegetarian, they are all having complete, they may have complete protein by taking plant eating only.
Okay. Next group.
To lose weight, all carbs should be avoided. As upon my perception, it is false. Second one also false. Third one sounds to be true, but I'm a vegetarian.
Yes.
Natural.
Fourth point.
A2 is beneficial for health. True.
Okay. So we have probably one group left. Which group is left? Yeah. You can have somebody from that group.
Coming to the first point, to lose weight, not all carbs should be avoided. Few carbs can be taken in moderation, especially those refined sugars which cause sudden glycemic spikes should be avoided. Whereas the long-acting ones you can take in moderation, but not fully avoided. The second point, we should avoid eating sweet fruits as they cause. These are not a causation of diabetes. Diabetes is a multifactorial disease, so it can be genetic and it can be due to the environmental factors. So just eating a sweet fruit does not necessarily cause diabetes. Animal protein being a complete protein, yes, animal proteins are complete proteins and complex proteins. But is it superior or better for the health of the body is a debatable one, because plant proteins are easily digestible, and though the animal proteins in comparison to the plant protein have complex proteins and more wholesome, we don't know whether they are superior for the health of the body, because plant proteins, I feel, they are more easily digestible. And A2 ghee is beneficial for health. It is beneficial. Ghee is beneficial to a moderation. It depends on the amount we eat. And one of the best mediums for cooking, I don't agree on that, ma'am. So it's, as a medium for cooking, we cannot have ghee all the time because it can increase your triglycerides and cholesterol. And plant-based foods have zero cholesterol. It's not true, because some of the plant-based foods can have cholesterol, like sir was also saying, some nuts can have a cholesterol in low levels, not more. We can't say that as a zero cholesterol. That's our take on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else has any different views? We've talked about 5 points now.
Ma'am, I'm a plant biotechnologist, so I would like to talk on plants. So plants, why they are more better than animal proteins, I feel, because I'm also a vegetarian. So I feel it's because we as humans or animals, we can only synthesize 15 non-essential amino acids. So we have 20 amino acids, out of which 15 we can synthesize in our own body. Remaining 5 we have to depend on plant source. Whereas plant, they are more complete. So all the 20 amino acids are there in plant sources. And plant-based foods have zero cholesterol. Every plant cell, individual cell, they are made up of lipid bilayer. So they are made up of lipids. We cannot avoid any cell, for that matter, without a cholesterol, because every cell, whether it's cell membrane or plasma membrane, cell wall, they are made up of lipid bilayer. So they are made up of cholesterol. Obviously, we will take cholesterol, and cholesterol is also very good for our health, because most of our steroid hormones are coming from cholesterol. So cholesterol are very essential. So we need to know what type of cholesterol we need to take, whether it's a good cholesterol or bad cholesterol. So we have to check on that. So mostly it is PUFA and MUFA. So polyunsaturated fatty acid type of food is better than monounsaturated type of food. So plant foods are better than animal foods.
Okay. I'm hard.
So rather than talk about the answers, we leave it open for now. As we go in our discussion further, we'll talk about the answers and we'll see where we stand. So as per the Indian Council of Medical Research studies, it was found that more than 50% of the total disease burden in India is due to unhealthy diets, which is causing so many of the problems today in health that we see. So what's a healthy diet? You need fruits, you need vegetables, you need cereals, that means the grains, you need pulses, you need dairy products, and then in smaller quantities, oils, ghee, butter, fats, nuts and seeds, spices, herbs, some sweeteners. All this forms a part of a balanced diet in the right proportions. What can be the proportions, that will come to later. But some of these things or all of these things should in some form be a part of our diet. So if we have to talk about what is a healthy diet, besides having those ingredients that are there in a balanced diet, how do we decide the quality of our food? So what questions can we ask? First of all, is the food nutritious? Is it going to nurture the body or is it going to harm the body? Secondly, is it digestible? Can the body digest it with ease or not? So the same food which could have been digested well by us as teenagers, perhaps we may not be able to digest it so well now. So even though it may be nutritious for the body, but perhaps the recommendation for an elder person would not be to have large quantities of that because they would not be able to digest it. Yeah, is it making sense? We also need to check whether the waste is excretable. Is this important? Yes. So we need to check whether the waste matter from the food leaves the body easily or with difficulty. That can also be important for us to see whether it is going to be helpful for the body or not. So generally that means a fiber-rich diet. Fiber-rich diet means fruits, vegetables, they have lot of fiber, whole grains, pulses with the covering, they also have lot of fiber. So many dietary items can have fiber, but if we are conscious and aware, we will choose to have those items which have fiber. Compatible. What food combinations nurture the body and which don't nurture the body. So there are some food combinations that may not be nurturing for the body, but then there may be some which are suitable. So we talked about the body constitution yesterday. We talked about some of the qualities of or the attributes of the constitution. So you, based on your constitution, now you may have a fair idea of what kind of things may be suitable, what kind of things may not be suitable. Similarly, we talked about the age, physical activity, time of day, season. So the same food which may be very nutritious in the early morning, the same large quantity of food at night may become difficult to digest. So according to the time of day also, we can see what is compatible, what is not. So as we go along, we'll talk a little bit more about this. If we see, when we choose our food, when we choose our meals, are we paying attention to these 5 questions? These 5 points? Or which is the point that we are choosing food based on? 5. Taste. Yeah. So taste is important, but priority, if you check, you would have to see this priority. That's why taste is in the last priority. But that also does not mean that healthy food has to be bland or not tasty. So you can have tasty food which is healthy. But we can start checking with all these parameters. Our focus today will be largely on food that is nurturing for the body or not nurturing for the body. And we will talk to some extent about the other factors also. So grains or cereals, like somebody mentioned, they are the powerhouse, the energy providers. Actually, everything provides energy, but they were considered to be the bulk of the diet. And so you have various options, many choices are there. Earlier, we used to talk only about rice and wheat. Lately, we have been exposed to barley, oats, millets, quinoa, all of these. So it is recommended that we don't just stick to one grain throughout the year. We can change the grains based on the season, based on the condition of the environment. So for instance, if you look at these millets, so pearl millet or bajra, I don't know, you might be calling it something else, it heats the body. So it's a good option in the winter time when the environment is cold. So it's a good option to use for heating the body. On the other hand, finger millet or ragi, it is cooling for the body. So in the summer, this might be a good option to take. If we reverse the process, then in the summer our body will get more hot, in the winter our body will get more cold. So we can choose based on these things. Ultimately, we want to have a variety of grains rather than focus on a single grain. Then we talked of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates can be simple or complex. Simple carbohydrates or sugars. So natural sources can be there, like fruit, which has fructose, milk, lactose. These are digested faster. Others, which are kind of processed foods, like table sugar or sucrose, these would all come under simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates or polysaccharides or starches. So many simple sugars bound together in long chains form these complex carbohydrates. They take longer to break down. They keep the blood sugar levels stable. And the stomach stays full for longer. So many options are there in complex carbohydrates. Many natural sources are there. Even fiber, though we think of it as just like a not contributing anything, it is also a complex carbohydrate. But largely fiber helps to get the waste matter out faster. And that's also important, a very important point, because if the waste doesn't go down, does anybody know the length of our intestines? So the small intestine is 22 to 26 feet long. Yeah. So just imagine, it is way more than our height. So many more times than our height. 22 to 26 feet long, sorry. So, important thing to do is to see that anything that we eat has to go through this whole process before the waste can be excreted out. So if you have something which is very less fiber, which has very less fiber, it's going to take very many days. And you may have noticed, if you leave something outside in the hot sun, what happens? It gets spoiled. Food and all, if you leave outside, gets spoiled, decays. Now inside the stomach, the environment is like a tropical rainforest. It's very hot and moist. So obviously there will be a lot of decay happening. And this waste matter, you would say it's already waste, what does it matter? But the longer it stays in the body, the more it is going to get recirculated through the system, through the blood. So these toxins are going to keep recirculating in the body until the waste matter leaves the body. So therefore, that is also important. So coming to this question of carbs, are they good or bad for the body? So the form in which we consume this carbohydrate, that is very important. We talked of simple sugars. So milk is also included in that, and table sugar is also included in that. And both are simple carbohydrates, but one can be nutritious for the body, the other can be harmful. So processing makes a lot of difference. So if you use less processed whole grain as carbohydrate, there's no problem. If you use more refined grain, more processed grain, then it may cause a problem. So not all carbohydrates are bad, but rather those that are highly processed are not so good for the body. So better to have the less processed. So if you're using wheat, atta, if you have it very coarsely ground, that will be more beneficial. Or if you have what we call cracked wheat rava, that may be more beneficial. Not the suji. Suji is more refined. So similarly, white rice. In place of white rice, if you have unpolished or less polished or hand pounded rice, that will have more fiber. So that will help in the process. Not only fiber, the minerals also are retained in that. Otherwise, if you keep polishing and polishing, the nutrition is gone. Nothing is left in it. So the same wheat, in the most nutritious form, you will see as wheat grass. That grass you can just take and churn it in a mixer and drink that juice in the morning. It boosts the immunity. It's very good for the body, very nutritious. It can raise your hemoglobin level very fast if you drink even a little bit every day. Now when you grow when you harvest the grain, whole grain may be hard to have, but when you have it as cracked wheat, it has a lot of nutrition. You break it down, you make it into atta. That atta, if it is retaining the fiber, it is still okay. But what is happening today, this fiber is being strained out, and the fiber-less atta is being sold. That is not so good. You process it some more, you will get suji. You process it even more, you will get maida. By the time you get to maida, it is the same carbohydrate, but it has been processed so much, nothing is left. It's only taste, no nutrition. So the form in which we consume the food is important. So oats are nutritious, but if you are buying a packet of 2-minute oats, is it nutritious? You have 2-minute noodles, 2-minute atta noodles. So you can see how much processing they go through. What nutrition would be retained, that is a question mark. Again, from the ICMR findings, it was found that a large part of the Indian population intake of micronutrient dense foods like whole grains, pulses, beans, nuts, fresh fruit, vegetables, it is less than that which is recommended. while the intake of refined cereals is more than recommended. That is why so many problems. So the key is, have a healthy mix of carbs, diet with whole grains, and naturally occurring fruits and vegetables rather than to avoid carbs completely. Yeah. Coming to the protein-rich foods, what we call the muscle builders. They are supposed to build the muscle mass so that the bones can stay strong, joints can be freely mobile, and they also are responsible for forming the many enzymes and hormones and cell membranes, hemoglobin, all of that requires protein. Daily requirement, 10 to 15% of energy should come from protein. But at the same time, now you can see here in adults this much, in boys, in girls, in infants. So these numbers will vary as per the studies that you see. These days many people say you have to have at least 1 gram per kg per day as an adult. But as per the WHO and this FAO, 0.75 grams per kg per day is enough. Higher intakes of protein in children have contributed to later obesity. That's what studies are saying. High protein intake can also contribute to chronic kidney disease. So more is not necessarily better, even if it is nutritious. Usually, if you're taking it in the natural form, as pulses or whatever, it will not be that high. But if you are taking it in concentrated forms, so these days many people are taking protein powders. The protein may be coming from the plant source only, but it is highly concentrated. Then one has to be a little careful what we are consuming. So something can be good, but if we take too much also, it can cause problem. Sources of protein, plant-based proteins, lentils, pulses, beans, legumes, many options are there. Soy-based, tofu, all of these have low fat, they are high in fiber, so they are very healthy. Grains also have, some of the grains like quinoa and millets, they have more of protein, say, rather than rice. Rice has more carbohydrate. Nuts also have some. Nut butters are there, which have healthy fats. So peanuts, seeds like sesame seeds, they also have protein. Then you can have animal-based or dairy. This is also a good option, but you have to recall that there is no fiber in milk-based or dairy-based protein. So that has to be taken into account. I have not talked of other non-vegetarian foods. If time permits, we will talk a little bit about that towards the end. So, amino acids, they are making up the protein. They are essential and non-essential. Essential just means the body can't make them, you have to take them from outside. Non-essential means body can make them. So even if we don't take them in our diet, we are okay with it. Complete proteins are said to be those that contain all the essential amino acids. Incomplete proteins, those that lack one or more of the essential amino acids. Essential means those that the body can't make. So a long time this was said that proteins from animal sources are superior because they are complete proteins, while those from plant sources are incomplete. The truth is, many plant-based foods do not have all the essential amino acids, but several do. That's why some of these foods are called superfoods. Moringa, which is very common here, I think. How many of us take moringa very regularly? Very nice. So this is one example of a plant-based food which is complete protein. It has all the essential amino acids. Amaranth, I don't know what you call it. You might be having a different name for it. This is the English name for it. Buckwheat, chia seeds, quinoa. Therefore, there is so much talk of including these in the diet today, because these are providing all the essential amino acids. So we are saying that vegetarian sources, many of them, they may not have all the essential amino acids, but if we appropriately combine cereals and pulses, nuts and seeds, they can provide all the essential amino acids. So for example, cereals don't have the essential amino acid lysine. They have higher amounts of the essential amino acid methionine and cysteine. Pulses have high levels of lysine, but they lack methionine and cysteine. So now when you combine dal and rice, you have a complete protein. And our forefathers obviously knew that. Therefore, in our tradition, we never eat rice plain or dal plain. We always combine rice and dal and eat, isn't it? Also, 70 to 80-85% of the protein in a vegetarian diet is digestible. Right? This is all coming from our Indian Council of Medical Research. They have been talking about this. But this is a common thing that should be common knowledge, often is not. The benefits of a plant-based diet as an alternative to animal protein. So this is a fact which, these are this is the link to where we got this from. The incidence, if you're taking plant-based proteins, incidence of diet-related health problems such as obesity and diabetes can be greatly reduced. Furthermore, plant-based proteins can supplement preventive effects on cancer and cardiovascular disease. So even when you're healthy and even when there is ill health, there are benefits of plant-based diets. Coming to the fruit and vegetables, these are called the cleansers, cleansing foods. They have a lot of complex carbohydrates, lot of fiber. So now you can see why they cleanse. They remove the toxins. They lead to gut health and cleansing of the digestive tract. They are generally low in fat and calories. So they are excellent for those who want to do weight loss. They are very rich in micronutrients. So I won't get into all the things, but so they should be a part of the diet. Many of the vegetables and fruits, they have phytonutrients which boost the immune system and are anti-inflammatory. So many of the colored vegetables, brinjal have anthocyanins, orange colored beta-carotene, red ones lycopene, and so on. Microgreens, the tender new leaves of plants and trees. They are very, very nutrient dense. They are rich in antioxidants and they strengthen the immune system. So all of these, moringa leaves, baby spinach, tender methi leaves, fenugreek, they stabilize the blood sugar in diabetes also, and holy basil or tulsi, that also can be taken. So that you can have quality fruits and vegetables, it's a good idea to go with fresh, regional and seasonal. Something that is fresh, not stale, not coming in frozen form from far off areas, so regional, which you can have truly fresh and will be suitable for the body, for that climate, for that region. So better to go with the regional and in the season. So nature had provided certain fruits and vegetables only in some seasons. But when we don't understand the significance for taste or for whatever reason, we start growing everything in all seasons. But it doesn't do the body that much good. So fresh, regional, seasonal is a good way to go. Fruits, the recommended quantity of fruits, 500 grams per day or 5 to 6 portions per day. In India, the consumption is 100 to 200 grams per day, so much lower than what it should be. If you have ample fruits every day, it actually reduces your risk for diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, cancer, all these things. And of course, it is better to have them in the natural form than as supplements. Some people feel it's okay if I'm not eating fruit, what is there? I will eat the minerals and vitamins, pills. Obviously, the bioavailability of the pill is going to be much less than the actual fruit. And when you're having the actual fruit, you're having the fiber. When you're having the pill, there is no fiber. So, of course, bioavailability factor is also there. So fruit, even today many doctors say don't eat fruit if you have diabetes, unfortunately. The fact is consumption of ample fruit can actually prevent diabetes. And you can find this in the American Diabetes Association and all of those areas. Most fresh fruits, not processed, have a low GI index, glycemic index. So that means they raise the blood sugar very gradually and they lower it gradually. Most fruits. Also, most fruits have a lot of fiber and water, which is good for diabetes. But the form of the fruit is important. Of course, fresh fruit is what we are talking about. If you have canned fruit in a sugary syrup, that doesn't count as fruit. So minimize processed food, because there it is going to be absorbed by the body rapidly and it is going to cause a blood sugar spike. So those we can avoid, but natural fruits in the natural form, we can increase our intake. I think the other day somebody mentioned that we are taking very less fruit. Somebody had mentioned. So we can increase that. Dairy. Dairy is a rich form, a rich source of protein and of calcium. So many milk products are there. Are we aware of the difference between A1 and A2 milk? Yes, everyone? So A1 milk is the milk like the ones from Jersey cows. A2 milk is the milk that is coming from the indigenous breeds, the original natural breeds. So whether it be the Swiss brown, whether it be the Indian Gir cow and so on. So A2 cow milk and milk products are nurturing for the body, but A1 milk has been shown to be harmful for the body. It is linked to atherosclerosis and heart disease. So wherever the option is available, we can check and try to get. Today there is a lot of awareness about A2 milk, and now with so many online apps, it is easily available online. If you compare buttermilk and curd, buttermilk is more readily digestible than curd. Curd is harder to digest, and also you need to consume it seeing the time of day and season and all. So late at night you don't want to consume curd, which is cooling, and daytime it is fine to use. And if the digestion is working well, it's good. If the digestion is weaker, better to go with buttermilk. You can also add herbs and spices to help in the digestion. So some people add tadka with hing, tempering with hing, with curry leaves, with mustard seeds, with ginger, even in the buttermilk, so that the digestibility becomes more. All those options are there. Fats. Coming to fats, plant-sourced fats, many options are there. Again, if you go with the region, coconut oil is probably the most prevalent here. Is it? Huh? Not here? Sesame oil. That's also a very good option. Also, oils can be in the form of natural nuts and seeds. So almonds, coconut seeds, sesame seeds, many options can be there. How the oil is extracted, that is very important. So if it is cold pressed, then it is beneficial, nurturing for the body. Once it is refined, the refining process uses either chemicals or heat. In both cases, it damages the oil. Then it becomes not so useful for the body. So better to go with cold pressed oils. And of course, you have animal sourced fats also. Butter, ghee, or clarified butter. If you come to ghee, it is called the wonder saturated fat. At first, maybe some 30-40 years back, there was a lot of bad publicity regarding ghee. In our tradition, ghee has been used for the longest time. But some years back, there was a lot of concern by the medical fraternity that ghee is very harmful for health, should not be eaten because it is saturated fat. And saturated fat is bad for you. But though it is a saturated fat, it has a high concentration of monounsaturated omega-3 fatty acids, which are good for heart health. Using ghee as a part of a balanced diet can help reduce unhealthy cholesterol levels. And these are some of the links to this information. This came from, I may not have put it here, but this was stated by, I think, an organization in the US, either AMA or American Medical Association or something. that this is now considered one of the best cooking mediums. Why? Because it has a very high smoke point. People are talking about olive oil being very good. Olive oil is good for salads, but if you try cooking with it, the moment the heat is little high, it degenerates. But ghee has a very high smoke point. So even at very high levels, it doesn't disintegrate, it doesn't degenerate. It retains its qualities. So therefore, it is one of the best cooking mediums. Of course, we are talking about A2 ghee. And it lubricates the intestinal tract. If you look at sweeteners and salt, it is required in minimal quantities by the body. Natural sweeteners, honey, sugarcane, jaggery, stevia plant you may be aware of, that also is a sweetener. Dates, raisins, all of these can be nurturing for the body. Once you process it and you have artificial stuff like table sugar, other chemicals, like there are some other some diet sugar and all those things. They are mostly chemicals, they can be harmful for the body. So take the natural form, take less, but take it in the natural form rather than consuming something which is going to be even more harmful. Salt, natural rock salt, Himalayan pink salt, these are better for the body. Once you process it in the form of table salt, now it becomes harmful for the body. Then other things, small quantities of herbs and spices can be used to make the food more easily digestible. We'll talk about some of them when we talk about home remedies. For example, cumin, it aids in digesting food. Ginger, this also is very good for treating colds and coughs. It is helpful, it is an antioxidant, it builds immunity, all of these things. So these things we use generally in small quantities. So what are the right quantities? You see the broadest part of the pyramid has fruits and vegetables. Interesting, isn't it? Then come the cereals or grains. Then come the proteins. And lastly come the fats, sweeteners, and so on. At the time when I studied medicine, they were talking something different. The grains used to be at the bottom of the pyramid. And I remember thinking, how can it be the same for every age group? It has to be something different for different age groups. But these fiber foods, they are very important, and the more we have in larger quantities, the better it is. Now I think in the US and all, they talk about 4 food groups or something. So in a plate you have this much, they have put it as equal quantities of grains, grains, proteins, blah, blah, blah. But this from the ICMR, this makes more sense. So eat a whole lot of variety of foods, generous amounts of vegetables, whole grains, pulses or beans, modest portions of nuts or seeds, and then have a selection of fruits and maybe plain or fermented curd. You can have healthy snack options. You can have vegetable salads or fruit salads with seeds or nuts. So who says that it has to be boring? You can have very tasty ways of eating the foods that are nutritious for the body. So So balanced diet is not only one that has all the necessary ingredients, but also in the right portions. Not only in the right portions, but also less processed. Then only it is useful for the body. If we are having all the ingredients, if we are having good portions, but it is processed, then there is a problem. So have a lot of diverse fruits and vegetables. Every season there is some fruit that is of that season. Try to have those rather than to get exotic fruits from somewhere. So even in fruits the same thing stands. Fresh, regional, seasonal. So you can have salads like this, right? So have lot of fruits in your day. Have generous servings of fresh vegetables in every meal. At least in the cereals or grains, at least 50% should be whole grains, which are minimally polished. And sufficient quantity of pulses and beans, nuts, oil seeds. Those things we take in smaller quantities. The oils can be limited to 25 to 30 grams a day, and avoid refined sugars and processed salts, which we have been saying. So, any questions on this?
There is a statement that enlightened beings doesn't take food externally.
What is that?
Enlightened beings.
I didn't understand.
Enlightened being.
Enlightened being. Oh, I was thinking of food. Okay.
Doesn't take food externally.
What do you mean? They can do without food, you are saying?
Rather, some dew, like some liquid will be poured.
Who will pour?
I heard so, ma'am. So I'm just checking.
No, what happens is that, see, the body is gross, we said, the self is subtle. So when people go into deep samadhi, the metabolism of the body is very, 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 very low. So the requirement of food becomes less. So people in that state can go without food for extended periods of time, days together, even months sometimes. But that's not for us. We have to eat food every day.
Is there any way to cut the attachment, emotional attachment towards food?
So like I said, stop thinking about what not to do, rather think about what to do. See, when you're busy doing some project, you may be spending 2-3 hours busy at the desk. You may even forget to eat. Does it happen? Yes. So you don't have obsession with food. It is just that you need to focus on other things that are important to be done. And at the same time, once you have, it's like we keep saying, you focus on the higher, the lower drops. So food is required for the body. But a lot of times we start eating for taste. So there, if we focus our energies on something higher, like you're talking about self-realization, if we focus on our development, if we start doing other practices for bringing our energy inward, our focus inward, then slowly this attachment to food will become less.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
As of now, instead of soil, now the fruits and vegetables are grown through hydroponic form. So whether in that case also do they contain the same nutrients
we would have to wait for the research, but I have my doubts about that. Because, see, when we see nature as a whole, we can see the role of the soil. But if we are just seeing the plant in an isolated form, then we might think, okay, we can grow it in the water, that's fine. But what it is taking from the soil, that we are not taking into consideration there. We are adding something on top, chemicals, to try to cover up whatever we think it's missing. But that, whether it really will help in the long run, that we'll have to see. But I seriously doubt it.
One more query, ma'am. Do the properties of fruits change in juice form, or still they remain the same?
Yeah, so if one can have in the natural form as fruit, that is best, because it has all the fiber. Once you make it into juice, the fiber gets left out. So even though you are having that nutrition or those ingredients except for the fiber, still, one is, supposing you have an orange. The orange has a peel around it. It has a life, but as long as you don't peel the orange, it is still okay. And you peel it and you eat it. Now you have the fiber, you have the juice, you have everything going in. Supposing that same orange you make into juice, you have removed the fiber, and that juice now is exposed to the air, all that area, it is getting oxidized. Any oxidized food is going to cause increase of free radicals in the body, which is cause of disease. So if you have juice, have it fresh. Soon as you squeeze it, have it. But the juice that you get outside in the market, you have to be very cautious about. Please read the fine labels. Many times those juices have lots of sugars added into them. Then it is not so useful. And even what they call 100% juice, if you really see what they are doing, for ease of transport, what they are doing is that they are drying the material through some spray dry or something. Those particles are dried. Then they are carried from one place to another because it's small quantity. And then the juice is reconstituted. That means this powder is now being put in something, and then water is added to it, and then it is sold as the 100% juice. So then who knows how much nutrition is left in it. Because the process has changed. A lot of processing has happened. When you are using the high speed, high heat drying methods, how much of the vitamin C will retain in that juice? Just because we used oranges, we can't say on the box now that it is rich in vitamin C, because look at the processing it went through. Who knows what it has, what it doesn't have. So wherever doubt, better to have fresh. If you take out the juice in your home, you know what you're taking out. What you buy in the market, you have to be cautious. Is that okay?
Ma'am, many a times we are coming across some cautious statements like these two foods should not be taken together. For example, people used to say that fruits, vegetable salad should not be taken with cooked foods. Some people used to say that fruit should be taken before meals. Some used to say after meals. Which is correct, ma'am?
Yeah, so, this is important. See, when our digestion is working fine, we are able to eat whatever we want in whatever order we want, and we are okay with it. As age advances or as digestion weakens, now there may be a problem. If you see, fruits and vegetables have a lot of fiber, so they are going to move down faster. But other foods, cooked foods, they don't move down as fast. So now if you eat cooked food first, and then you add on top of it the raw food. Now the raw food wants to go down faster, but it can't go down faster because of the other food sitting in the way. So one of them, mostly the raw food, will not get digested, isn't it? So there will be gas, bloating, problems with that. So ideally what they say is to have the fruit or the raw food before the food. Give it at least half to 1 hour before the food, at least half an hour, then have the cooked food.
So the same thing for combination of NV items along with the curd rice. That
Yeah,
also
non-vegetarian items is another story only. Whether it is beneficial for the body or not, first we have to see that. We are talking about healthy foods. So that we'll see.
Ma'am, can I add a point, ma'am? About probiotics, ma'am, what is your opinion? Because fermented foods are supposed to be very healthy, the rice which is soaked and which is eaten in the morning. Your take on probiotics?
Yeah, that's very healthy. In fact, our B12 and all this, especially those who are not taking dairy, they can get it from fermented foods. So many of these fermented foods, even idli, dosa, all that, they are very beneficial because even though you are cooking them, they still retain some amount of that. So they are actually putting good bacteria into the gut, and that's very beneficial, no doubt about it.
Ma'am, does chronic stress reduce the absorption of food, or does it reduce the nutrient capacity?
Chronic stress can cause a lot of problems in the digestion. You can see a simple thing. Supposing you go to talk, you're not used to talking in public. And you go, first time you're going to talk in a big place, you might feel some discomfort in the stomach. You've noticed that? So already with that little bit of tension in you, you can notice the rumbling inside. Problems are happening. There is some disharmony. So definitely stress can cause a lot of issues. It can play havoc with the body. I mean, we spoke about the other day, 90% of disease in the body is caused by stress. So definitely it can cause a lot of problems. And if we are having, just one moment, if we are having, say supposing you are having the most nutritious food, but you are watching a movie or something which is showing a lot of violence, now you will be having those kind of feelings, those kind of thoughts. That also has an impact on the food that you are eating. So it won't get digested. That same nutritious food will become harmful for the body because of the emotions that are being created in you. That will also have an impact. So that's why in our tradition, in any tradition, they do a small prayer before eating. A prayer of gratitude, a prayer of thanks, but at the same time you are having a calm mind, with a fresh mind, then you start eating the food. And in our tradition, many times you will see sages and all, when they take their plate, they always put aside a little bit for the ants or for birds or whatever else. Now you are having that feeling of interconnectedness. You are having a calm, composed mind, and with that, then you start eating. That is going to be very helpful for the body. Yeah? Yes? Huh? No, you can sit in groups also and eat, but talk nice things. Don't talk ill of people. That choice we always have. Yes. Any other question?
Yes, ma'am. It's a bit long question. Like, as human beings, every creation, right, the purpose is to reproduce. Like if we take one plant, what they do, like they make flowers, they make seeds, and using that seeds there is going to be a cycle, reproduction cycle. So once I gone through in some book, I don't remember, every cereals or spices we take, they have a protective cover that to escape from like somebody is taking out of it. As we humans, we do grow plants, they make seeds or nuts or something to their reproduction cycle, but out of it we reap the benefits. Like we take apple and eat, and we throw the seed so that it won't reproduce. So that the purpose of plant making apples is to reproduce their race. But now we consume that byproducts, like fruits or leaf or water, nuts or seeds. So now these seeds have very intelligent that they have a protective cover, like a shell or something, which is poisonous, that we are not supposed to consume. And we have to derive something, like as we know, if you take a paddy, animals can eat paddy as it is, but we do extract rice from the paddy and we eat. We cannot paddy as it is. So we remove that outer shell. And when it comes to groundnut also, the outer shell is so strong, so we remove that and we eat. And there is a lot of confusion that which spices, cereals need to be soaked, after that wash and we have to consume, and which we should not soak, directly we can consume.
Yeah, so let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
You mentioned about the purpose being to reproduce. What if we say that every unit, the purpose is to sort of be in interconnectedness with the others and fulfill the other units. Reproduction is a part of the survival process where, the reproduction is leading to a continuity of the race. That is true. But if that is our purpose or not, that you have to see. Purpose can be more than that. One is survival, another is purpose. Purpose can be to be useful for the humanity, for the world around us. And if you see that every unit on this planet is actually helping other units. So if you see trees, you said about apples. Now the tree is growing and there are so many apples forming on it. If you eat one apple, it's not taking away from the tree. That's what it is doing. The fruit is there for people to eat. Even if you throw the seed in the ground, again it can germinate and it can come up. That is why if you even plant one seed, nature has provided such a big system that as far as possible it should not go wrong. Of course, we tamper too much with it, then we create problems. But even if you plant one seed, out of that one seed, you can get a tree with so many fruit, with so many seeds. Of that, if we eat a few, there's not a problem. But if we see that if we really want to eat for the necessity, there won't be a problem for all human beings. But if we start trying to take for greed, for trying to get more and more money because we have assumed something else about our purpose, then there is a problem. Then it will create that disharmony in nature also. So that's why we were saying to be concerned about nature, to see something that is useful, it's good for me, helps me in my prosperity, but at the same time, I also enrich nature so that there is prosperity in nature. Because if prosperity in nature is not there, my survival is also question mark, isn't it? So that's one thing. Then you were mentioning about soaking or not soaking.
It's like how we consume after that production, yield. Like a paddy, we remove that outer shell. Wheat, outer shell we remove, but some millets we take directly without.
So even those things that are hard for the body to digest, those we should soak. When you soak, it becomes easier to digest. You know, something that is something like a rock, that is one kind of a unit. A plant is a live, breathing unit. That is easier for us to eat than a solid. Now similarly, if you see millets, when you soak them, or even for that matter pulses or grains, when you soak them and you keep them in water, you help it to sprout, it germinates. Now it will do the body a lot more good than if you try to eat it in the natural form.
Add on to that, ma'am. Like I have read that soaking that spirals to germinate, it's like cheating them. That you are going to grow so that you can come out of that poisonous cover out. So if start germinating, so that automatically it removes that poisonous covers. Like what protection method they have been kept in. So that we can easily remove that protection method, so that we will get only like a very best out of it.
I would say that there is abundance in nature for all our needs, provided we have understanding about it. So when we talk about the health of the environment, we'll discuss some of these things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For the body is grains in the form of whole grains, variety of the pulses with covering, fruit and vegetables which are fresh, regional, seasonal, milk and milk products which are from A to milk, healthy fats in the form of nuts and seeds or ghee, cold pressed oils, and natural sweeteners, or at least less processed sweeteners, and have these in the appropriate quantities of food as per the food triangle chart that we had